Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, November 12th, 2025. So, a lot more familiar faces on today's episode. Eli and Lonnie are in town. We're going to see Will and Eric as well. And today is also the day of baby Trey's baby shower, which is kind of backwards because normally, you would have the baby shower before the baby's born, but I guess because of the situation, it has to be like that, which is still a sweet gesture. So Eli and Rafe are, talking at the police station about what Rafe is working on alongside, his new partner Kat, and what they're trying to find out on EJ and what he's up to. And since um Eli is with the CIA. He wanted his help on this case. He spoke about Kat and Kat's experience that is kind of limited in terms of what he needs to find out regarding EJ. You know, Eli also reminds him not to get too close with Kat. Don't flirt around with your work partners, right? It can get really messy. So he urges him, not to do so. And Ray says, it's all cool, right? So, anyways, Eli asked him if he has anything on EJ so far. And he said, we may have something that can nail him for good, right? All of us have some connection to the mirror, and we really need to see EJ pay. And that was really it with them. So, like I said earlier, Eric and Will isn't back in town. They are at the baby shower and they reunite with Roman. Roman is checking in with both of them. How is Jude? How is Sonny, respectively? And Sonny couldn't make it because he's busy with work, and Jude couldn't make it again because we all know that Nicole is not on scene anymore. So of course, they have to write out Jude as well. I don't know why they couldn't just put him into the storyline as well, because he could just bring him and then Nicole stays behind as usual. So anyways, they're there waiting for the rest of the guests to come at the baby shower. And also you know Roman hinted that Sammy has a big surprise for them. Of course, we know this is her engagement that she's going to share with them later on. And so, he went ahead to finish up preparations. So Will and Eric are talking, and they talk about what's been going on with Salem, what's been going on with them personally, and talk about how the girls, Holly and Ari, they are going to the same university, and everything that's happened with Sophia lately. Eric can relate because Sloan put him and Nicole through that with Jude, and he said he definitely really blames Sloan for that demise. However, he doesn't blame Sophia because she is a kid. But I'm saying either way, she was grown enough to know what she was doing. And Will even said that, she even put them all through hell, right? So anyways, they have good comfort that they're here in Salem. They have each other because, of course, it's hard being away from them. Eric and Nicole would have loved Holly to be in France with them, but they understand, and Will also understands as well. And, they have to do what they have to do. Now, Sammy and Marlena gets a chance to catch up, and they're talking about going to this baby shower, and also Sammy revealed that she's engaged. So apparently, the family knows that she's been involved with this Dante guy, but not long enough because Marlena even pointed out like it's just been 2 months. You guys sure that you want to just take this the next level? And also, he is the son of a mafia boss. Are you sure he's not affiliated with their business? So Sammy ensures that look, he's not involved in business at all. He's, a regular, legit Italian businessman, nothing more to it. And I know it's 2 months, but listen, I've been through a lot and I've grown a lot. And I'm not the same person I was before. I have my eyes wide open. I don't, I'm not worried about this, right? And I'm sure enough can spot whatever red flags that may arise, right? I got this. So Malena says, as long as you're happy, as long as you can assure me that you'll be good, I will definitely accept it, right? Because earlier she also thought about that's the same way you said you were sure when you were at EJ, and EJ turned out to be, involved in criminal activities. And again, Sammy's saying, are you thinking that I'm doing this to get back at EJ? And Marlene is not saying that. Marlene is just saying that, look, just be careful, right? So Sammy understands, and she gets where Marlene is coming from. Again, it is what it is, right? So they go to the baby shower. Of course, at some point they do bring up Marlena's condition because she's not looking so well, right? So, anyways, we go on to the next part where they talk about the absences of certain people like Carrie and Brady and Belle. I'm surprised Belle didn't show up and they didn't have a showdown. But Belle turns out to be in court and Carrie's on another continent, and also Brady took his daughter to a field trip, right? So, anyways, Sammy, you can tell Sammy was kind of offended by them not showing, but the show must go on, right? So Leo and Javier also going to the baby shower, and also, Leo's trying to do some work, but he's distracted. I guess, they're talking about the baby shower and him possibly or not possibly attending. He also had some other things he wanted to talk to Javier about, which is his conversation with Gwen. Gwen wanted to have some closure regarding Dimitri, and she heard that he was spotted in Curacao, and she wanted him to go investigate because he's good at what he does. We all know that it's a hidden agenda, but again, she wants him to investigate, see if he's actually dead or not, so she, can protect her inheritance, something like that, right? So Harvey is saying, do you really want to go down to do that? So Leo said, not without your approval. So he's like, oh, you really want my approval, my vote? So he said, yes, it definitely matters in this case, right? So he said, look, if you need closure, do what you must with that, right? So they do end up going to the baby shower. Of course, it was hard for them to see little T because, they just gave him up. And Rafe is also there as well. And, it's really tough to just see the baby there. And they accidentally called him by Tessara still, knowing that, he's now known as Trey. But you can tell that it's really hard on them. Now, Lani and Paulina and Abe are in the square. They're picking up a cake for Chanel that her assistant made, right? So Paulina goes and picks it up, and that gives Lani and Abe the time to talk. So Abe is whining and complaining about how Paulina was supporting Theo's decision to work as CEO at Demir. And, Demir has taken a lot from them, and, they're nothing but bad news, blah, blah, blah. But Lani pointed out, as she also, agrees with Paulina's decision, because again, the Demirs are also Theo's family and they're his family as well. But at the same time, you know, a lot of good can come out of that opportunity, and all Abe has to do is support him. And probably that's why he went on to, talk to Paulina, but because he knows how his father is. So she said, have you ever thought about that as well, right? So finally, somebody put him in his place, because honestly, he's doing a little bit too much and just becoming very overbearing and annoying with this whole thing, right? So they go on to the party as well to also help to set up as well, right? Now, Johnny and Chanel are getting their baby ready. I mean, the baby's being fussy, as mine is right now. And, they don't know, they're kind of acting as new parents, as we all have been there as parents before, and they're wondering like how to calm him down. They look through Leo's book on how to calm down, find some white noise, a vacuum. Poor Johnny was so overwhelmed he didn't know where it was, but he eventually calmed down. And Chanel is thinking, maybe this baby shower is too much, let's just call it a day, let's stay home. And then he's saying, my mom went through all the trouble, how she gets when something gets canceled. And I said, it's kind of too late to cancel, like it's happening like today, Chanel. So Chanel then decided, what, let's go through it, because initially her reason not to go was because of Leo, Javi, and Rafe, and she didn't want them to just, it's too hard for them to see the baby and all that. But again, they decided to go. They go at the party, and everybody's welcoming them. Sammy's taking a million pictures and oohing and eyeing at her grandson. And Johnny thanks her for not inviting EJ. At least he will not be there. And of course, she tells him about her engagement and all of that. And they do ask about the wedding, when that's gonna come, and she would love for them to be there, and Johnny would love to meet the guy, and see what he's about. She and Johnny also talk about EJ, and that, hopefully they can reconcile. He said no time soon after what he did to Chanel. I've tried boundaries with him, but he doesn't understand. So she said, you don't want to regret it one day, and you have his son, you want to do better, and not be mad at the person all the time, right? So, just don't regret it, right? Chanel thanks her later on for hosting this baby shower, and Yeah, they come home and they're happy to just be a family of three and just, have the day, have the time to themselves as new parents, right? So Marlena and Leo get a chance to talk, and Marlena knows how hard it is for him to really, like, process everything with the baby. And, she's proud of how far he has come. And he said, he couldn't have gotten this far without her, Javi, and also the baby. So it was a really heartwarming conversation between the two of them, really brief. At some point, Marlena tells him that she is going to go home because she's not feeling so well. She's feeling tired and she has to be up for John's I guess John's they're paying homage to John at the gala the next day, right? So Will offers to take her home because he's also tired as well. So Will brings her home and he offers to make her tea and she sits down with her book and you can tell that something's off with her. Even Roman and Sammy were also looking at Marlena that something is off with her. She's not been herself, right? Um, what else was at the party as well? I guess there was just small conversations here and there. At some point, Chanel and Johnny, they do go home, and I already spoke about that. They did see Lonnie and Eli. They are off parent duty for the night, so they spend some well deserved adult time together. Like teenagers, and that was really it. They tell Chanel that they actually are planning to have a third one. There was a conversation between her and Eli and Lonnie and Sammy, and Sammy was just talking to them about twins and how challenging it can be to raise them, and there were flashbacks of her bringing Ali and Johnny into the world, as well as also her and Eric being twins themselves, and also that whole interaction with Rafe, which really was just them at the beginning of the start of the relationship, really. There was also interaction between Rafe and Sammy, and I always gonna say that Rafe and Sammy are one of my favorite couples. Basically one of the one guys that I liked her with. I liked their chemistry together. And remember that they had a hookup the last time she was in Salem, right? So he heard about her engagement through Johnny, and of course he's gonna investigate the guy, see if he's legit or not. She did say, she's sorry that he didn't come to Italy, and he's sorry that she didn't stay here. But she always said that he will always have a piece of her heart, and she will always she will always love him, right? So I always liked the two of them together, and it's just such a bummer that they didn't work out and they didn't have kids together, right? Like, who's gonna give Rafe a child, right? He has all the makings of a great father, but I guess he's just there as a honorary grandfather and a father figure for a lot of them, right? At some point, they do talk about I guess they talk about the baby, and they talk about him looking out for Johnny and the baby, and you know um right. At some point, she asked about how the job is doing, trying to remember exactly everything in their conversation. No, really, that was really it. Them talking about their past affair and her new relationship and everything like that. Uh, yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh yes, so when the cleanup was happening and Chanel and Johnny left and most of the guests have gone, they did talk about the baby shower some more, but then he gets a call from one of his buddies that, Tony Demir has officially been missing, and, he did not show up at the port. So now that was where it ended off. So maybe Tony's coming back as Andre, but let's just see. I apologize for the noise in the background, guys. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. So, comment below your thoughts on today's episode. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.